Once I had the melody for the bell in place, it needed to have some additional rhythm underneath it. So what I've done is I've dialed in 2 different pad sounds, which are being blended together to create, a big, lush, wide sound. So we're going to talk a little bit about what I did for each of those Ana 2 patches, how they interact with one another, and what kind of processing we've done to them to sort of glue them together and into the rest of the mix. So we are blending a couple different wavetables for this patch. The first patch is going to be this OBERHEIM style saw wavetable. And then here we've got a Juno 60 pulse wave. And we've got the pulse width dialed up a bit. And I'll kind of break down each of those. Now the bulk of this patch is the OBERHEIM saw. And with that, we're blending together 7 different voices, decently detuned. And we've got some pretty slow attacks on these. And then here is the other wavetable from the Juno. I liked what the pulse wave added because it almost made it sound like any of the old sampler units where you basically just had like the same sample and it was pitched up and pitched down. Mm-hmm. It just added a little bit of that sort of character to it. So mm-hmm. I rolled with that. The outro pad is basically the same sound. So you'll see right off the bat, we're using the same wavetables. The biggest difference between the 2 patches is going to be that I have robbed this one of that slow attack. We've just kept it fast because I wanted this one to be a little bit more not aggressive, but it needed a little bit more attack. It didn't feel quite right as an outro to have it be more slow. Mm-hmm. The other set of pads that we have, and this one is a little bit more involved. This is for the chorus and the bridge and solo section. Now we're blending together 2 different saws. We'll pull up the first one here. This one we're just going to call AQUATIC saw. We're just using Jupiter 8 saw and mixed with a Jupiter 8 square. We've got the pulse width dialed up a little bit on that one. And we're blending that with a little bit of white noise just to kind of give it a little bit more air in the upper frequencies. And we're actually high passing that up too so that it's not adding any low frequency content. We're using a little bit of resonance on here. And if you look at the macros here, we've got a little bit of the filter envelope turned up. But the resonance is where a lot of the tone from this one's coming from. We didn't want it quite to whine, but I wanted it to just have a little bit of something more interesting going on with it. This sound I called FIZZY saw. I wanted something a little bit more aggressive than the last one. So this one is a blend of just the standard saw wavetables with an Ana, and then saw thin 1. And with this one, I didn't want it to be quite as lush. Now, one big thing going on with this, and there is a G envelope preset included with this session. Basically, I wanted to create a noise LFO, just to add a little bit of something random to emulate a little bit of the drift that you get with the analog components that are in things like the Jupiter or the OBERHEIMs. From that era. What we're doing is we have this routed to the pitch fine for all of the different wavetables on this. And you'll see it just kind of go through, and then I'll talk a little bit more about what else I'm doing with that. So with the G envelope, we're going to modulate the fine pitch for all of the wavetables on here. Now, it's a rather subtle difference, and I'll pull up here. You'll look here that the amount is pretty low. I don't want it to be like a chorus effect. But I do want it to add just a little bit of subtle inconsistency in the pitch. So this is without. Just gives it that subtle little warbliness. And then what we're doing just to kind of further emulate the inconsistency of that technology of that time is we're using the first LFO here to actually modulate the rate of the G envelope. And we're not sending a ton to that because I don't want it to go all wacky or anything like that. We're just, again, we're going for subtlety here. We're blending in both of those as we already discussed. I've got them panned a little bit either way just to add a little bit of additional width. And then we're actually going to run that before anything else. We're going to run that into this chorus. I really like some of the built-in effects of a lot of those older units, especially things like the Juno. With this, we're just kind of looking to add a little bit of that sort of lushness that you would get from a unit like that. So I'll go ahead and play it without. Next thing we've got in the chain here, what we did before anything else, just to kind of follow what we talked about earlier about keeping things close to unity gain, we just boosted it a little bit to compensate for that. Then we're running it into the virtual channel, and then we're just gluing the two different synths together with the FG stress. And much like what we did with the intro and outro pads, just using the warm pads preset, kind of tweaking it to taste from there. Now, the next thing in line here, we've got the Air EQ. We're cutting a little bit of lower mid-range. It got a little stale and kind of got in the way of, some of the drums and other things going on. We're cutting a little bit out of the 500 region and then about 1.5K. And then we're just warming it up a little tiny bit with a low pass up at the top. And then, of course, we're cutting out the sub-frequencies so it doesn't get in the way of other things.
This course is available in the Slate Digital All Access Pass, which gives you thousands of dollars worth of award-winning plugins, the industry's most game-changing synthesizer, Anna 2, and the very best masterclass production courses taught by the industry's biggest pros, all for $14.99 per month.